Welcome back to Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Day presented by TIAA. Nebraska coming off its first NCAA tournament appearance in a decade. A changed USC, Eric Musselman, the new head man, adding 11 transfers in the offseason. That's the most in all of Division I. Indiana Hoosiers set to start their fourth season under Mike Woodson. You talk about a transfer offseason, 3 of the top 5 Big Ten transfers coming out of the portal and landing in Bloomington. And with that in mind, welcome in the head coaches of those teams, Fred Hoiberg, Eric Musselman, Mike Woodson, kind enough to join us. Fred, I want to start with you. You made it public last week that you were going through what you termed a, quote, minor procedure. Obviously, I know you well enough to know you take everything humbly, especially when it's about you. But folks do want to know how you're doing. You look great.
Well, thanks, Rick. Great socks, by the way.
Thank you.
I feel really good. It was a procedure on Friday to replace my pacemaker, and I went in there. It was about a 30-minute procedure. Biggest thing right now is just being careful. I'm coaching a lot on the sidelines, trying not to get hit. I just can't get hit in the area where they did the procedure, but overall I'm feeling great.
Fred, one of the most humble guys to ever share a story with you guys. A few years ago, we played golf together at Olympia Fields, a PGA caliber golf course. He was coaching the Bulls, running late, trunk slammer, straight from his trunk to the first tee, goes birdie, par birdie, and tried to convince everybody on the 14th that he was just lucky. Hit 11 perfect shots.
I was very lucky. Yes, hasn't happened since.
True story. Eric, we got a chance to meet for the first time out at Terranea in May. Warning, don't try to work out next to this guy in the gym because you won't look good. You shared a story then that you ended up in almost the same location, a stone's throw from where you were when you got your very first job out of college.
Yeah, first job out of college was selling tickets for the LA Clippers, and I lived on 44th and Highland in Manhattan Beach, and now we're on 6th Street in Manhattan Beach, so kind of full circle, super cool for myself and our family.
Mike, you've been obviously very busy, you and your staff, in the off-season with the transfer portal, but it's always important to get some time to recharge the batteries. You know about keeping the pace when you've been in this business for as long as you have, and I understand you were able to recharge those batteries not far away in California as well a little bit this summer.
Out in Desert Island, dealing with the heat. It was all fire. But my wife likes it out there a lot, so it's been a couple of weeks out there this summer.
You obviously did spend some time, you and your staff, in that portal. Talk about some of the amazing transfers you have coming in. Omar Ballo, Carlisle's on that list, Miles Rice, so many other guys. How were you able to do that? What's that process like now when it is so important to get into the portal and get players that can fit immediately into your program?
We had no choice. I mean, I lost 3 players to the portal. I lost 2 seniors, and Khalid Ware was drafted to the Heat as a 15th pick in the draft. So, I mean, I had to go out along with my staff and start, really working to try to build our team back. And we were able to come west and get Big Ballo, as you mentioned, and Miles Rice and Carlisle. And then we were fortunate enough to get Goody to come back home, which is a Bloomington kid. And then we got a freshman in Bryson Tucker, who kind of fell in our laps late. I had looked at him a couple of years ago when he was at IMG, and we were able to get him on board. So I mean, we built basically through the portal with 1 freshman, but it's been work in progress. Summer program I thought went extremely well. We gave him a month off, and now we're back in official practice. It's been a good run so far. We just got to put it all together and see what happens.
Eric, no one was busier than you and your staff in the portal out of necessity, obviously. Give us a sense of the guys that came in and also how difficult it can be, what the challenge is when you're trying to build chemistry with so many guys who haven't played together before.
Yeah, I think from a chemistry standpoint, it's about what you can do in the 8-week off-season program. Every Friday we tried to do a non-basketball related activity, whether it was the wiffle ball on the beach or boxing together as a group or spin class. We tried to do something outside of basketball and then follow that up with a meal of some sort. But then in the transfer portal, out of necessity, certainly with the way the roster was with 1 returning player, we had to go to the portal. And we're excited about a lot of guys. But a lot of guys that need to play with a chip on their shoulder. Obviously nobody on any of the Big Ten teams right now that were recognized with the top players, and we discussed that. We discussed where we were ranked preseason. And so I hope that our team, kind of has that chip on their shoulder from day one.
Fred, for you, the transfer portal story is interesting because you have a handful of guys who come from other Big Ten schools who really know this league. How much of an advantage could that be?
Well, I think it's important when you're putting your roster together last year we were the oldest team in the league, and we needed to replace a lot of really important pieces that we lost from a year ago, including Rick Mast, who unfortunately had a knee procedure and he will be out for the season. So for us to go out there and try to get that experience to replace Keisei Tominaga, Rank, who I talked about, Josiah Alec, who are great leaders for us as well as great players on the floor. And we accomplished, we did a pretty good job of that as far as I think we have 8 guys that are in their 4th year or more in college basketball. And when you have that experience, it gives you a chance. We have 2 freshmen that I really, really like, and I think they're going to be very good players, but we also have experience. And as you said, Rick, guys that have played in the league with Connor Sejan, with Gavin Griffiths, with a couple guys that played in the Pac-12 last year with Braxton Mia and with Burke. And, these guys are coming together, and, I think Muss hit it on the head as far as those 8 weeks, how important they are to building chemistry in the summer. Back in our day when we were playing, it was October 15. You basically had 2 or 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden you're playing games. So those 8 weeks in the summer, the 5 weeks in the fall, and then the guys are already sick of you on the first official day of practice. But that's all very important as far as building that very important chemistry.
You do have some terrific returnees back, Bryce, Juwan, and others, guys that got to taste the tournament last year. It's always hard to get to the tournament. Many coaches say it's tougher to get back for a second year. How do you kind of keep that momentum going that you built a year ago?
Well, it's such a different experience, and being on the big stage and all the coverage that you have, and we only really had of our active roster 1 guy that had played the tournament. That was Juwan Gary when he played at Alabama. Now we've got a bunch of guys that have been there. So we talked about this a lot as a group. The challenge now is not only getting back there, but it's winning in March. It's taking this program to where it's never been before. And our guys have been really good. I love the work ethic. I love the competitiveness. When you have a group of guys that play hard, you're going to have a chance.
Mike, you've been there. I know you'd like to get a little bit deeper into March this coming season. When you returned to your alma mater, I'm sure you had an idea of where you wanted the program to be at this point. How does that compare to where you feel like the program actually is?
I think we took a step backwards last year by not making the tournament, and that was kind of disappointing. But again, we got to move forward. The first 2 years, a lot of those guys had been in the tournament for 5 years, and they tasted it a little bit. But at the end of the day, along with these guys, it's about winning Big Ten titles and winning national titles. That's why I came back. I remember the good days back when I played, and some of the great years that Bob Knight had in Indiana, and it's been missed. And to be back and I'm able to put my stamp on it, it's going to be great for me. I'm happy to be back, but we still got a long way to go as a ball club.
Eric, your career has been defined a little bit by change because you've coached at so many different places at so many different levels. How much can that help you in another year of change, not just for you and your program, but for the Big Ten? As for the first time ever, we see 18 conference games, just 1-2 play. Because of that, everything's new for everybody, including those teams that have been in the Big Ten for a long time.
Yeah, I think if you coach in the G League, you're used to change. And so right now it's change in roster. It's change with players receiving name, image, and likeness. It's changing the way that we're going to travel. And I think that along with both coaches, Coach Woodson and Coach Hoiberg, I think that there's a little bit of the NBA travel can come into play here with how you do shoot-arounds. When you travel West Coast to East Coast, we've had a lot of discussions with our staff, what we did when Golden State played in, say, Orlando on the first round of a travel day, and when do you actually do shoot-around? Do you not do shoot-around? So I think that some of the NBA lessons with travel can help. At least it's the hope. We've also talked to, we met with the LA Rams a couple weeks ago about how they travel when they go west and east. What do they do on that first night that they land, and how do they handle the morning before like a 1 o'clock kickoff? So it'll be a learning process for all of us, though, for sure, with the travel part.
So when coaches say we're only looking at the next game, in this scenario, you are actually looking at this as a whole to try to figure out the best way to deal with all the different things that approach you this season.
Yeah, I think you have to. I think that the way you manage your team, in November and December can have an effect on how you play in March. And obviously, the goal for all of us is to have our teams playing, their best basketball in March. And a lot of that has to do with mental fatigue, physical fatigue, and then where you are with your bodies and minds come the end of the season. So certainly the way that you plan in November can have an effect.
I know we actually have to get there, but since Eric said end of the season, what do you think it's going to feel like at the end of the regular season to have gone through this league this season?
Yeah, it's going to be a grind. I mean, you had 4 unbelievable programs with great coaches, and it's going to be, the travel, to Muss's point, is going to be something that none of us have ever experienced at this level. The 3 of us, I think, have been fortunate to either have played or coached in the NBA, and what some of that travel is like. And I think we're set up in a pretty good spot in Nebraska. The West Coast grind, I don't think will be quite as much as it is for the East Coast schools. But at the same time, you really do have to prepare for it. One thing that I think, do a really good job of is we have a sports scientist that monitors every practice, and we have a load progression that we really want to follow to try to be fresh when it matters most. In the last couple of years, we've had a very successful February and March record. So, just to really try to keep your guys going where you're playing your best basketball at the right time of the year.
And Mike, it certainly helps when you have guys who have been through that grind before, like Trey, like Malik McKenzie experienced it and now expects some growth this year. What do you need from those guys specifically and those veterans who have been on this team to try to meld in all the newcomers?
We need to believe, and make another jump. I know Malik made a hell of a jump from his freshman year. McKenzie, tremendous jump. And, Trey Galloway, is who he is. He's been a leader since I've had him. Unfortunately, he had knee surgery this past season, and he's worked his butt off this summer to get back. He's not fully covered, but he's getting there. So I'm going to need all 3 of those guys to lead the league. We got some seniors, but we also have a bunch of young guys as well too that hadn't really experienced the Big Ten like Miles Rice and Kevin Carlisle and Tucker. So we're going to need those veteran guys to step up and lead our ball club.
Let's finish here, guys. On your campuses, obviously there's a lot of momentum right now with your football programs as well. Indiana's kind of surprising everybody. Mike, have you felt that vibe of your players talked about maybe getting a chance to go to Memorial Stadium and watch the Hoosier football team this year? Eric, have you had the chance to spend much time with Lincoln? I'm sure you and Lindsay have shared thoughts.
Yeah, went to a couple practices, actually got some good drills. We've kind of taken some quarterback wide receiver drills that he used and have used it with a 5-shot drill. That they had a 5-passing drill with their quarterbacks, but there's nothing like USC sideline pregame. And the only thing that's been troublesome a little bit is we keep having recruits come in on weekends when our football team's playing on the road. And I keep wanting to go on a road football game. I'm like, stop with the recruiting stuff so we can go to a road football game and experience Big Ten football.
And Fred, I know you and Matt obviously talk a lot about what your respective programs are doing at any given moment.
Yeah, Coach Rule's doing a phenomenal job, and it's been so much fun. We had our 400th consecutive sellout in the last game. It's been sold out since 1962. So the passion and the energy right now around Nebraska football has been awesome to see.
Guys, we really appreciate the time. Fred Hoiberg, Eric Musselman, Mike Woodson, wish you and your teams the best of luck this coming season.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I will continue here on Big Ten Basketball Media Days presented by TIAA.